All right, you ready? You
That's
ready
the
to
combo.
start up again?
I totally forgot where we were. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Good evening, RJ. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Personally, no complaints.
Felt like a busy biathlon week for a week off.
It did. There was a lot. We actually, initially, I don't know that we were necessarily planning on doing this, but there was just a lot that happened, and we felt like, well, we probably should get together and chat about some of this, because by the time Worlds comes around, we're gonna have other things to talk about.
Yeah. Well, and then some things coming out in the news that we both kind of felt like should discuss. So
yeah, do you want to get right into that?
Anything? And yeah, why don't we?
Yeah, I'd say, because there are other things that we want to talk about that are more fun, like the European Championships or the Youth Olympics. But I think that this probably is, well, not probably, it's definitely more important on a real life level than any of that. And so, if you haven't seen it, there was a story in the Associated Press. I'll tweet out a link to it on Monday morning, and you can go find it there. And it is, I know some of you are wondering, where is Joanne Reid? She talked about it a little bit on her Instagram page. Well, this story really lays out what happened. And so she was the victim of sexual harassment and sexual abuse for a number of years. And the article goes in and lays out a pretty good, a background of kind of what happened. And there was this gentleman, and I'll say his name because it's mentioned many times in the article, but his name was Peter Garbic. And he was a wax tech with the US Biathlon team for a number of years. And he was harassing and abusing Joanne Reid. And in a number of ways, you can read about him in the article. It's pretty awful.
I wanted to add, there's a lot of things we don't know. And sometimes it's a bit risky to talk about these stuff when you don't know everything. But so the facts are that there has been an investigation and that has concluded. Yes. And we'll go into that. But so those are facts that have been brought out. And yes, it is a risky topic, and it's hard to talk about something if you don't know all the details from all sides. But at the same time, I think it is very important that these things are discussed. So I'd rather discuss with the risk of maybe not being completely informed than just saying, well, let's not talk about it at all. Because, that's one of the issues, right? That this is always kind of not talked about. So,
well, especially...
Sorry, I kind of cut you off there, but...
No. I really appreciate you saying that. There was an investigation by Safe Sport, which I'm not sure if that's an international organization or just something we have here in the United States. But
no, it was started by the U.S. after the issues with, similar situations in the gymnastics. Yeah. Is it Bailey? Yeah. Is that her name? So anyway, as a result of everything that happened there, they started this new organization to deal with sexual harassment in top sports. And
thank goodness it exists, right?
Absolutely.
And basically what happened is that so obviously this harassment, this abuse was going on, and Joanne Reid tried to bring attention to it. At least in the article, I was searching for the part here, but it looks like she wasn't able to get attention to it, and actually it was her friend and teammate Deja Irwin who, because she is a member of the National Guard as well, was able to get involvement of the National Guard to help get more attention on the matter. So And it goes on to say that, you know,
that's the
Deidre Irwin
timeline that I found a bit.
I was just going to say that Deidre Irwin was an amazing friend through this whole process, and if you weren't already a fan of hers, like you read this and you're like, you know what, you know, at least, you know, the way that she was able to stand up and be there with Reid, and Reid has mentioned this in her own post as well. So I apologize. Sorry.
No, it just this what makes me really sad. In addition to, you know, that this happened in the first place, is that this started in 2016.
Yeah,
and there was a specific incident in the spring of 2017 in her hotel room where, you know, Deidre Irwin helped her out. And what my understanding is that the US Biathlon was informed in 2019, and nothing really happened. It sounds like the response she got was like, "Oh, that's just part of the, you know, European biathlon culture," which, you know, that's a whole other debate. But then I guess Irwin went to her military leadership, and because of that sort of push, it got brought towards the Safe Sport organization.
Safe Sport, yep.
Yeah. And then there was an 18-month investigation leading to, at the end of 2022, a 6-month suspension of the person in question, the Wax Tech, and a prohibition until December 2024. I don't know. It's because her main reason for not stepping up right away is that she felt a lot of pressure of, you know, is one of the main Wax Techs on our team. If I bring this forward, that's going to impact the whole team. I don't want to be. It just, like, obviously I cannot really relate to it, what it's like to be sexually harassed as a woman in sports, but to have to deal with those kinds of pressures, you know, feeling guilty towards the team if you step up, but I'm assuming kind of knowing that that's not okay and maybe hoping that it will stop. It just, I don't know. It just makes me feel sick to my stomach just thinking about that. And, you know, I have no idea what is being done to support her, but to me, that should be like number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 priority is to support Joanne Reid in, you know, dealing with this, because obviously this is not something that, now that it's stopped, it's just going to go away. Like, she'll have to carry that with her, and I'm assuming that she's going to, you know, need support for that.
Absolutely. Right.
Especially given how long this has been going on. And
yeah, protect her, and how do you make sure it doesn't happen again, right? And I don't know where that starts. I don't know. I mean, this happened over the course, you said, since 2016. That's multiple different coaches. It's multiple different staffs. Like, just a lot of people were there who either did know or should have known and didn't do anything. Like, I just think that there needs to be a whole... personally, so I don't know how... If the issue is raised, I don't know how your first response isn't somehow to do something about it, especially because the time that it happened in, there was so much, at least in I don't know what it was like in other countries, but in this country with the Me Too movement, and so much effort to listen when women are saying, hey, this is happening, like, this is happening to me, to listen and to take it seriously. And the fact that, like, this group didn't do it, right? They had this opportunity to help protect her from this, and they didn't. Like, it's just, I don't know what the right response is, but it's so immensely disappointing.
Yeah. Well, and it, you know, and I know there's sometimes people that are like, oh, some women just, and I'm not saying that they would say this about Joanne Reid, but some women just say it for the attention or try to get money out of it when it, you know, when it's with someone like Trump or a very high higher up person. But even if that were true, which that could be always people that do that. But even if we're true, then I think the other side of the story is that for every person that comes out and tells about this, there's probably 10, 20, if not more, women that this happens to that do not have the strength or confidence to come out, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
Because if your main reason to not really deal with it is, oh, well, that's just part of the European culture, then how many other women go through something similar with the same idea? Oh, well, that's just what they do. It's like, well, no. If that's just what they do, then there needs to be a culture change within that biathlon world to say, this is just not acceptable anymore. Not that it was acceptable before, but it's like you can't just keep hiding behind, okay, well, that's just, these things just happen. It's like, no.
Nope. Yeah.
So
we're past that. There needs to be some sort of, what I would be hoping for, and I don't know legally, where they are with the whole thing. It sounds like the investigation is complete, but I would like there to be some sort of statement from US Biathlon about how this happened, and this is what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And like you said, like the falling back on the statement of like that's just their culture, like that is like it's completely insufficient.
Yeah, and it's and that's where I think we don't know all the details. Like, there might be a broader response and maybe discussions or whatever. But I guess what surprised me a bit is that actually US Biathlon came out with a statement on their website, which to me really feels like, yes, we've put the processes have been put in place to deal with this and avoid this from happening in the future. But it just, like, what I miss is just taking ownership that, yes, it's very possible that a lot of people in leadership in US Biathlon did not even know that this was happening, right? It can be discussions at the athlete coach level that never comes up. But at the same time, this is still happening under your umbrella as an organization, where obviously there is some sort of culture in the organization that people feel that they can say, oh, well, that's just part of, European biathlon wax deck, or like, and I'm not saying they need to step down, but I would have really hoped for a bit of a statement where, like I said, we put everything in place. We thought to avoid this, it didn't work, so we're going to put all the processes in place to deal with this. But our main priority now is to support Joanne Reid.
Yes.
And, I don't know the legalities. My feeling is when I see a statement on a website, it's probably some legal department of the marketing division that puts that up. So, they can't be misinterpreted and that kind of thing. So it could very well be that some of the leadership would have preferred to put more, I guess, personal detail or more supportive. I don't know. But it just makes me feel like these situations, unfortunately, we read about it more. Just, something like that happened a year ago in Holland, and we also saw the Spanish football federation or soccer federation for a women's team who, okay, well, I won't get into that, but I mean, there's a big case going on about that.
Yep.
And you would just hope that an organization would take more ownership of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I find disappointing.
They're scared of being sued. Like they're scared that she's going to sue, so they don't want to publicly admit that they're at fault. But really, like, you just want them to say, we failed Joanne Reid. We failed her.
And again, it could be that they have with her. We just don't know that, right? We can't really assume that they did or they didn't. But and then then there's the whole situation afterwards.
Yeah,
that they retroactively changed the qualification criteria, which of course could be just a coincidence, but it's very coincidental that it happens after that she came out to talk about it, and then she's the only athlete who's affected by it.
Only one. Yep.
And again, they're just facts. You can't really say it was on purpose or not on purpose. Like, you just don't know. But it's very coincidental.
Mm-hmm. At the very least, it's a really bad look, right? And yeah. So anyway, it's a long way of saying that we support Joanne Reid, of course, and the whole. I mean, I don't know. The word disappointing is insufficient, but the whole situation is extremely disappointing and hurtful and harmful, and it hurts, right?
Yeah, we always talk about the great biathlon family, and every family has its positive, but also its negative things. But it's for lack of better term that I can come up with, it's just really disappointing how. And again, I don't know about the law and everything, but to me, like, if there's an official investigation that determines that, yes, this is, what happened is wrong. We have the facts that this happened, and then suspend somebody for 6 months and then put them under prohibition. I don't know what the right answer is, but I cannot imagine being a female biathlete on the World Cup or IBU Cup or whatever level, to be on the tour knowing that person is there.
Right? Yeah.
And, you can say, okay, he got punished for it. He hopefully learned his lesson, and let's move on with a clean slate. But I don't know. Like, to me, that's just, it just feels very unfair.
I agree.
And it creates a situation of discomfort. Like, I cannot imagine if you're another female on the US team, or even in the biathlon world, and I would assume that they're all informed about this, and you see this person,
right?
That's a comfortable feeling.
Nope.
And I mean, for him too, let's be honest, so I don't know, like, from him, maybe from his side, he wouldn't want to be in that situation anyway. I don't know.
I
don't know.
Don't really care too much about his discomfort at this point.
It's not like, obviously, that we have the solution or anything, but we wanted to not bring it up, and not that Joanne knows us, but we just wanted to show our support and just really, really hope that she gets the support from the people that do work with her and are able to provide that. So,
absolutely. Couldn't say it better.
No.
Let's take a quick break. We will let's gather ourselves, and then we'll get back into some happier, more enjoyable biathlon news, okay? So, there was actually some other interesting things that happened in biathlon over the last week. Do you want to start with the news of the new skis that the Norwegians have?
No, let's. I prefer to go a positive route.
Okay,
for a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me.
So I'm going to mispronounce is Gangwon, I guess.
Yeah.
There were the Youth Winter Olympic Games, and I just wanted to really highlight. So Luke Holzhoff from Canada came in 5th in the men's individual, and so he was behind a Frenchman, a Norwegian, a Slovakian, and a Bulgarian, and then Canada.
Wow. What a diverse group!
So I thought that was obviously super exciting that Luke got 5th place. That mix of nations was there. And the list goes on with quite a large number of different nations. I mean, your Italy's and Germany's and Norway are definitely in there too. But I thought it was great to see. I also wanted to mention Elias Suley and John Lohus of the US, as well as Noah Cam Magruder. They came respectively in 31st, 35th, 48th. And then we had for Canada, Justin Konoff in 44th and Dawson Ferguson in 70th. So a pretty darn good result, obviously, for the Canadians. On the women's individual, Cheyenne Tershman in 27th and Flora Shanka in 33rd for Canada, and Julia Bartlett in 59th. And then on the U.S. side, we had Emily Campbell, not sure if she's related to Campbell Wright, 45th, Alexandria Taylor 56th, and Molly Maybach 71st. And what stood out to me is that there were, let's see here, in the top 16, there were 4 Czech Republic athletes. Wow. There was a, Christian is going to really like this, on the 14th place, there was Leonora Runhede from Denmark. So Denmark was there. There were 4 Ukrainians in the top 23.
Wow.
So, again, a good mixture of different nations in there. I might as well just go through all the results quickly. So there was the men's sprint. That was a more typical France, Norway, France, France. But then Bulgaria, Italy, Austria, Sweden, Poland. It's a mixture. Justin Konoff got in 20th. Elias Suley, 23rd for the U.S. John Lohus, 38th. Luke Holshoff, 43rd. Dawson Ferguson, 55th. And Noah Cam Magruder, 62nd. And on the women's side, we had Cheyenne Tershman, 24th. Molly Maybach, 27th. Flora Shanka from Canada, 40th. And then we go further down. Alexandria Taylor, 65th. And Emily Campbell, 76th. Julia Bartlett was not able to start. And then another great result there is in the mixed relay, so women and men. The team of Flora Shanka, Cheyenne Tershman, Luke Holshoff, and Justin Konoff came in 6th behind Italy, France, Czech Republic, Norway, and Germany.
It's good
and
company.
Ahead of Austria, Sweden, Ukraine. Let's see where US did not finish.
Did not finish. Yeah.
So it's just
doesn't even say they were lapped.
And then the very
did not
last
finish. So I don't know about that.
The last race was the single mixed relay, and France was first, ahead of Germany, Norway, Switzerland, Italy, Ukraine, Estonia, Czech Republic, and then we have to go down a little further. Canada in 20th with Cheyenne Tershman, Luke Holshoff, and the U.S. were 28th with Emily Campbell and Eric Suley.
So
I think that's all of it. I just wanted to,
let's say before we go,
support for the new group of athletes coming up. So,
did you see?
I don't know exactly what the age limit is.
I don't know. But before we go, Antoine and Guy, the Frenchman, he won the men's sprint. He won the men's individual. He won gold in the single mixed relay, and he won silver in the mixed relay. He did both the mixed relays. Pretty good week for him.
Silver. Yeah. I mean, he did get silver with 1:13 back, so at least it wasn't like, by 0.2 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah. That's,
and only, he had, 3 misses in the individual. He had 1 miss in the sprint. He had Let's see here quickly. France. Oh, there's two Guys, actually. Flavio Guy and Antonin Guy.
Guy. I apologize. Didn't mean to mispronounce his name.
Oh, I think that's what it is. I'm not sure.
Antonin
Guy had one miss in standing of his 4 shoots. And then in the mixed relay, he had only 1 miss in standing. So, no.
Pretty good week.
Sorry. His first lap was 2 misses in prone, 0 misses in standing. And his last lap was 0 miss in prone, 1 miss in standing.
Pretty good week.
So, did you see his name before? Like, does he
never seen his name before? Nope, that was it. Yeah.
But to also do like a mixed relay and a single mixed relay day, 2 days, or like basically next day. No, that's not true. The mixed relay was on Wednesday and the single mix was on Sunday. So there was some time in between, but still pretty impressive.
Yeah, he did. There were no more races that he could run. He was in all of them.
Yeah. So, well, and I think that leads into the topic you brought up earlier, because we see that Norway was always sort of in the top, but they didn't have any win. No, they had a second place. So no win. So yeah, they needed to work to do something with their ski speed. So apparently a new ski binding came out that I don't think at the Youth Olympics they were using it, but it sounded like at the IBU Cup, the European Open Championships, CERM.
Oh, were they ever?
Apparently was using them. It sounded a bit like they were testing them out, but I'm assuming they've been using them for quite a while, because I don't think they would risk that if they weren't really comfortable with it already. But apparently it, from what I understood, from what I could find, is that it changes the position of the binding where it connects the boot to the ski, where in your traditional binding, it's basically at the toes. And this is more under the ball of your feet, so basically just behind your toes, which, leads to a better transfer. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely what we needed in biathlon, that the Norwegians were a bit faster. We were talking about this before. I just don't really understand the ins and outs of why this, I'm assuming it's one company who came up with this bindings, why they would pick the Norwegians, could just be a contract thing. But like I was saying to you, I think if we would see podiums for Belgium, for example, I think that would be a much better advertisement for these bindings than, Norway beating everybody by 2 minutes rather than a minute and a half. But who knows? It's
right. If all of a sudden you saw like Lotte Lee and Florent Claude were just like flying or motoring around, you'd be like, "Hey, look!"
I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's interesting.
You see the medal table from the European Championships, and you had Italy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 medals, and France had 4, and no other nation had more than 1. So,
you
Norway.
Said Italy. I'm assuming you meant Norway.
Norway had just a bajillion medals. I apologize. Yeah, and
which in a way also feels a bit unfair that at the IBU Cup you have the number 7 of the World Cup rankings.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah,
but I mean, good for him. It's
slight
I don't
exaggeration.
Take anything away from that. Yeah. So you said you saw pictures of the binding?
I did. I think I did. Yeah. So let me quick find the article I was saying.
But was it bright yellow and black by any chance? Like, was it Fisher specific, or is it a different brand, or do you not recall? It reminded me a little bit of when the clap skate came out.
Yes.
From what I remember, and again at that time I was in Holland, so maybe it was a little colored commentary on where it came from. My understanding is that it was developed in Holland, and that all the Dutch speed skaters were able to use them, and that they weren't selling them outside of Holland in the first year or two.
I will try to find the article
as it was. Right, it was kind of a similar situation.
I'll try to find the article and post it, but yeah, the rich get richer.
But I find it interesting that skis have changed a lot over the years, just like lighter material, stronger material. But the bindings have been, it's always been this concept of the toe clicks in, and then I think there was Salomon pilot bindings for a while that had some sort of connection under your foot with the ski. I don't really know why that disappeared, or maybe it's still around. But yeah, so for a company to come out with quite a different concept is it's very interesting, because you think after so many years that they would have tried everything possible, but apparently, and it could be that they had this idea for years and there was just no material that was strong enough to do it with and light enough, and maybe now they found something.
Well, and you mentioned it was under development for 10 years, so clearly it was something that just took a little while to...
Right. But from what I read on the German biathlon news website, it sounds like they're going to use it at the World Championships. But there's also... I'm pretty sure of it that there's also 2 Germans that will be using them.
Oh.
So I don't think it's completely limited to the Norwegians, but it sounds like they're one of the earlier adapters.
Do you know who it's going to be?
No, I don't remember reading who it was. So it does make me wonder if it's a specific brand. Because I know, for example, Dole has been on Madshus for a long time. And, there's always the Fischer and Salomon majority of athletes that are on those. So it could be that there's just certain brands. I think Serum is on... Let me quickly look that up. Because that's actually... something that I'm curious about now, if I can find that information quickly. Yeah, did you follow most of the races on the European Championships? Open European Championships?
I watched the first, so I watched the individual sprint and pursuit. I watched those live, and then I caught the mixed relays later. The times were pretty early in the morning, I'll be honest, for some of those. But, I sacrificed. It was a championship, so I sacrificed. But no, it was... I don't know how much you actually ended up seeing of them, but I'm happy to lead the way if you want.
Well, I did actually see one live one. It was at 2:45 here, and I had a really hard time falling asleep.
Oh.
And then I think I just checked my phone to see what time it was, and then how the TV app of Eurovision pops up when there's a race starting. I'm like, might as well have a look.
Might as well.
But to be very honest, I don't know which race it was. I definitely don't know. It was a women's race because I know Kierkeide, or should we say Schierheide? Apparently, to the comment, if I follow the commentators,
I don't know.
And I think we know who we were talking about. I know. Oh, it must have been the. Did they do Pursuit?
They did.
Because I think it was the one where Idalene. No, not Idalene. Was it Idalene?
Yeah.
Who started
they were going head to head all week.
Right. Yeah. And then Kierkeide caught up with her in the end. But
yeah. So that was definitely the most interesting part of the European Championships to me, because the Norwegian coaches basically said that they were locked in with Tangervold and Knoten and Arne Kleiv and Skogen as their 4 going into to Worlds, right? That was going to be their 4, and then whoever came out the better of Kierkeide or Ida Lien was going to be their 5th. And Skogen, they said, locked in because she got the podium finish in Lenzerheide. And a lot of discussion on Twitter, and I'll admit I was part of it, about how I wonder if they would like to have that decision back about locking in Skogen, because she hasn't looked tremendous in the second trimester. But you got to say that Leanne and Kyrkaido went after it this week. So they certainly both made their cases, with Kyrkaido winning the individual, Leanne winning the sprint, and then they had just this fabulous head-to-head in the pursuit with Kyrkaido coming out on top, and Leanne ended up in fourth. But they were head-to-head in the fourth lap going into the last shooting. And then I will say that Leanne really did herself proud in the mixed relay today, with clean shooting, and took a 7-second lead, took it out to a minute, really, and made it insurmountable for Kyrkaido to give up. Kyrkaido tried.
She made a good effort.
She tried,
yeah,
but wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
But I just thought those two battling for that last spot. I think they would have given great efforts regardless, but knowing that spot was on the line, you could tell that they were just they were in top form. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Who would you pick of the two, based on what you saw?
I think Kyrkaido, she should be the pick, right? She won 2 of the races. She's a very, very good shooter, and I think that she earned it. There's a part of me that would still like to take Leanne. If your goal is to win the World Championship relay, I think that she's a better asset on the relay. For whatever reason, she performs better on relays this year. I don't think she's missed a shot, or she's had like one missed shot in the last 4 relays she's been on, which is not her norm. She's not the greatest shot in the world, but she's also much faster. I think if you just plugged her into the World Cup, would already be top 10 in terms of speed. So I think you'd be pretty good there. But on the other hand, you can make the argument that Kyrkaido on the relay as a much better shot would limit the damage, and then you put hopefully tangible blast. You can hopefully make up some ground. But anyway, I probably would go Leanne and I would say go for glory.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Kyrkaido because I felt well, just more because of the pursuit where they were basically head to head.
Yeah,
and I guess Kyrkaido was.
This is what I love about it, though, right?
This
is what I love about it is that I think that both of us, have a pretty good view of these things, and I think that you can make great arguments for both, and I think whoever they end up choosing, I think you'll be Kyrkaido, right? But I think you can make good arguments for both. I agree. Yeah. Kyrkaido, she clearly had a good head, right, going head to head in that pursuit. On the other hand, on the relay, she did her best to throw it away. I don't know. Yeah. She had an eye for drama.
Yeah.
And she's not slow. Don't get me wrong. Like I made a point about Ida Leanne being fast, but Kyrkaido is not slow. Like she can be fast when she wants to be. So I thought that was a lot of fun with them going head to head. And even though I mentioned that Norway had just an absolute pile of medals, I did think that there was a really good distribution of top 10s. Like you saw a lot of nations in the top 10. I wrote it down. If you want the whole list, Norway, France, Germany, Sweden, United States, Latvia, Moldova, Lithuania, Italy, Ukraine, Switzerland, Romania, Austria, and Slovakia were all in the top 10 this week. It's kind of cool to see.
Let's specifically highlight the US, like 6th and 10th in the men's individual.
Yeah. It's a Bonacci, Maxime Germain.
Yeah.
Good race.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yep.
Was there
Bonacci,
another
by the
American
way,
on there?
Was that?
Was there another American? Oh, yeah. Burkhardt, 53rd. Cervenka, 49th.
Bonacci was the only non-Norwegian in the top 7.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, it was after that race, I think, that they specifically mentioned the new skis, by the way. And
okay. Yeah, and I looked it up.
Not that they needed it, because they all shot well, too, but...
Yeah, so Surum skis on Madshus.
Okay.
Which is also the brand that Sturlaholm Legrit skis on.
He could use it. He could use the help.
And Dole. Benny Dole skis on that. Did you say
Benny Dole?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, because it sounds like only 2 Germans, I wonder if it's connected to the brand.
The brand, yeah.
But
Oh man,
I'm just speculating. But
if anybody bets, maybe now is the time to put $1 on Benny Dole and in one of those races, right? Put him for the sprint. Yeah. Anyway.
Also on the individual, I wanted to mention, so we had Zach Connolly and Logan Pletz on 63 and 65 from Canada.
Yeah.
And Borglum on 94 and Matt Strum on 104. What stands out to me is that I had the pleasure of very, very briefly chatting with Zach Connolly when I was there for the IBU Cup last year. Mm-hmm. And Matt Strum is a good friend, if not the best friend, of a guy that I practice with on Monday. So I've...
Oh, wow.
I don't want to say I don't think I've chatted much with Matt, but definitely seen him around a couple of times. So it's pretty cool to see his name in that list. He had
no kidding.
I don't know if you remembered, we had the national qualifications while the tour was in Ruhpolding or
Oberhof.
Anyway, when there was a World Cup or Oberhof, that the Canadians were there because they had a national qualification tournament, and Matt did pretty good there. So even though 104th is probably not where he wanted to be, I think it's still pretty amazing that he made it to the team and that he was racing in Europe. So
yeah, no kidding.
Awesome for him. I did actually not check other results, so just nice to see.
So that's I think it's really neat. And that's the kind of thing, right? These guys won't be racing at the World Championships, but they got to go here, right? We got to see how they...
I think they might actually be... Because they have Adam Ronalds and Christian... I can't think of the last name now. On the men's side.
Yeah.
Gal. Yeah. So they're there for sure, I would think. But then I wonder if at least one of the guys on the IBU Cup is also going. Logan Platz has been on the some of the team races, I'm pretty sure. Borglum has been there,
Zach Connolly, I would think.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. Also, before we move on from the individual, I did want to say that Anton Iverson from Sweden was in 11th. So I had never heard of him, so I reached out to Ola Brandholm, a Swedish commentator, and he noted that he's a up-and-coming athlete. He had a pretty big shoulder surgery in the off-season, and so we've been looking for Swedish men coming up, and his take was that while Iverson might not be on the Samuelsson Ponsiloma level, that he will be a solid World Cup biathlete in the next couple of years. And he went on to mention that he in particular could be a good relay athlete. And then, of course, Iverson just today went on to win the single mixed relay with Sarah Anderson. So, looks like he's already a pretty good guy to have on a relay.
That is a nation that when I went through the results from the Youth Olympics, definitely felt like a nation that was missing from the top spots. And I don't know exactly how it works with who they send out. Maybe they're very young athletes that are coming from Sweden compared to others that are a bit more experienced from other nations. But I definitely noted that they're not even in the top 6 or top 10 in some cases. So talking about that race, Moldova had a pretty good open European Championship. They got in the single mixed relay 4th.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure I saw Stremus's name show up a couple times.
Got a silver in the individual, and I know that she was up there for the sprint and the pursuit as well. So pretty good little run there. Yeah, she was top 10 in the sprint and 13th in the 7th in the sprint, 13th in the pursuit.
What's your feeling about the IBU Cup versus... it seems every year there's more overlap. I mean, of course, with the Norwegians having so many top athletes that they don't have enough spots in the World Cup. But I see in the individual race, Rostroguyev in 10th.
Yeah.
Bonacci, they're They're kind of like athletes that you regularly see on the World Cup too. Lucas Fracture, Emilian Claude, David
Beatrice
Zobo.
Tribucci from Italy was there. Emma Capostova actually won a bronze, and she spent a lot of time on the World Cup this year. Michelin from France has been up there. So yeah, I think that on the IBU Cup, it's this really interesting place because you've got these guys. There are definitely athletes who sort of that is where they end up, right? They're just not quite good enough to be on the World Cup, and I think but they kind of spend a lot of time there. But then you also have this really interesting group that is, I think, good enough to be on the World Cup, but they, for whatever reason, just like, and this will be your top 10 to 15, and whether it's they're young and their federation wants them to get some more racing experience before coming up, or they're like the Norwegians and there just aren't enough spots, right? Or I think the French women in this case, there just aren't enough spots, or so I think that there's a lot of talent there at the top. So I enjoy it. I think that it's. I don't know if I'm quite answering your question, but I think that it can be sometimes a little bit difficult to ascertain exactly how good somebody is based off of their IBU Cup results, because while I think like a top 10 is really good, I think that it's hard, I don't know, a top 20 might not seem as good because the talent can kind of fall off a little bit when you try to compare it to the World Cup. But
right.
Yeah.
One other name that's kind of a question to you, if you happen to know that. I noticed that there's a Stalder from Switzerland, but I don't think it's the Stalder that we know from the World Cup. Is it a younger brother?
Younger brother, yep. Gian Stalder, yep, younger brother. Speaking of Swiss and athletes who are generally on the World Cup, Leah Meyer was here as well and had a fairly good European Championships. I also, there were a couple of names that popped out to me. We were speaking of just younger people, that some I've been watching this year and some just kind of showed up. So one was Anna Karin Heidenberg. She's a Swedish woman, and she is apparently actually, I didn't realize this, but I started noticing her a couple of months ago, and she is apparently the leader on the IBU Cup in the sprint. And I pointed out, it's like, hey, it would be kind of cool if she could get a medal. She ended up 5 seconds away. She was in fourth place, and I was really happy for her, because I think that she is not one of the young Swedish women that, Sarah Anderson or Tilda Johansson, who had gotten some love, last year. But I think that it was fun to see her. She's only 23. I don't know if she's going to be, replacing the, Elvira or Hanna Uberger on the World Cup, but it was just fun to see another one, because I've been sort of wondering where are the young Swedes, and so it was just nice to see. Nice to see another one pop up. And then, please.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then a nation that has an abundance of young talent, the Germans. There was Marlene Fiechner, who made her very first appearance on the IBU Cup. She's only been on the juniors, and she immediately came up and went 20th, 11th, and 5th. So there's another one for you. She's, I think, 20 years old. So I'm sure that we'll see her on the World Cup in no time at this rate.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's just so many young Germans. Anyway, sorry.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
So we talked about, and again, this is just based on an assumption that Madshus is the brand that came out with the new bindings. Yep. We may be completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But so one name I saw, other than Benedict Doll on the German team, is Roman Rees, who also skis on the Madshus.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are predicting some races, we have talked with this athlete, and this athlete mentioned that this athlete was going to switch skis.
It's Emma Lunder, right?
Emma Lunder. So Emma Lunder this year is skiing on Madshus. Emily Dixon, Trevor Kears, all from the Canadian team. Lucy, not Shervadova. The Sledemark family is also on Madshus. Tuli Dominguez.
Oh.
I
like Tuli Dominguez.
Quite the list, but Maya Klutens.
She actually just not this week, a couple weeks ago, she had a
Lotte
podium finish.
Mentioned
Lotte
her
Lee?
to us?
Yeah. Yes.
Lotte Lee is also skiing on Madshus. Ligrid, obviously, we mentioned him. Surum, we already mentioned, but Stronsheim is also on that brand. Sivert Bakken, I don't even know if he's still
whatever he's doing these days. Yeah.
You mentioned Marit Skogen, she's on Madshus. Femsteinovik, Paul Schomer, Vincent Bonacci, Amanda Kautzer from the US team. I don't remember specifically, if I go back a few years, that Madshus was a big brand.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about this, but I think I remember that they were very close to, maybe Christian Wolf mentioned that, but I'm not sure anymore. But I think that brand was almost like done for.
Yeah.
And then to see how they've made a big comeback, that's pretty cool to see. I was doing some analysis actually on the brands.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
so
far the data I can find is all only for the current season. So it shows you what brand they're on now, but I can't find the data what they were on last year. So it's
can you look up, do you have the list in front of you?
Yeah.
Is Isaac Frey on that list? Frey?
Is he from the US?
He's Norwegian.
Norwegian. It's gonna take me a minute, but Frey. Maybe you can put some elevator music or something.
The reason I'm asking, I'll actually fill it in. The reason I'm asking is because he's my favorite of the young Norwegians. He's like 19 or 20 years old and shoots the lights out, and he shoots like 90%. He won a gold in the pursuit. Yeah, because they need another one, right? But he was bronze in the sprint. He won the pursuit and just was awesome. And the reason I started liking him,
right now, but,
the reason I started liking him was just because he was of the giant Norwegian backup on the IBU Cup. Like he was like usually like 5th or 4th, but he starting to move up there a little bit, and I guess on the IBU Cup that kind of counts as an underdog story.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Hey, I mentioned Bakken. Have you heard or read anything about his situation?
Nothing.
Or
no?
It must be pretty. I would say it's not very motivating if you see how many good Norwegians are already battling for a spot on the World Cup, and just becoming healthy again and getting to the level that you were at is tough enough as it is, and then knowing that might not be good enough for.
Yeah.
So
last thing I read about him was it had something to do with him being in a relationship with one of the women on the team, and I have no idea if that's an active relationship or not. But that is the level of where we are with him, I think.
Okay.
I did briefly want to give a shout out to Guiguna for going down to the European Championships. I know it feels like a bit of a demotion for him after how much time he has spent on the World Cup the last few years, but went there and he
won a race, right?
He did. Yep. He did, absolutely.
That's cool.
And so I just wanted to say, awesome for him to go down there and win the sprint, get bronze in the pursuit. So it's not like he just went down there and threw his hand and gave up. Sounds like he still won't make the World Championship team, even though there was a spot, I guess, available for him. But can't say he didn't go down there and compete as hard as he could. So
right. Hey, I was listening to the German podcast Extra Runde, and they were saying that the Norwegian Federation is usually pretty fast with coming out of with their list of athletes. Have you seen a list or?
Nope. Doesn't mean it's not out, and by the time this podcast comes out, it probably will be up, because I would imagine it's going to come out tomorrow morning, but I have not seen a list.
Right.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of Norwegian lists, you know who didn't have a great week at European Championships was Boten, who briefly came up to the World Cup and just didn't quite. I mean, he got a silver. I should say, look, he still got a silver in the individual, but considering how he was dominating,
disappointing.
Silver in the individual and the sprint. Terrible
disappointing weekend. Yeah,
God, terrible. But considering how many races he won, right, it was just kind of weird to see it. He, I guess, what stuck out in my head was he started the pursuit with 4 misses in the very first prone shooting, and ended up with a total of 8 misses on the day. He still finished 11th, but 8 misses on the day, and then in the mixed relay today, he had a penalty loop, and so it's just like it was totally erratic shooting to end the European Championships, and just I don't think really the taste he wanted in his mouth to leave there.
Right. I got a question for you.
Yes, please.
So we'll get into more details later on, but we talked to a number of people in the biathlon scene, and one of the groups of people we talked to was a fellow from Norway and Sweden. So you'll hear later this week that there's a bit of rivalry between those countries. So with that in mind, going through the list of Madshus skiers, and I know I say this wrong, but it's pretty sure it's a Norwegian brand. Any idea how many?
I think we should probably pause here and say that this episode actually is sponsored by Madshus. So
I wish.
No, I know. I wish too.
There's 0 Swedes.
Yeah,
that ski Madshus.
Oh, no kidding.
And I have no idea if that's just because a Swede would never ski on a Norwegian brand.
Or a Norwegian brand would never have a Swede.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Now we won't take them. Yeah, that Drek. Yeah. So, man, that's funny. I guess I wouldn't have guessed it, but man,
I just thought it was funny to see that.
Any more thoughts on I've got like 2 more thoughts on the European Championships. If you
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say Dmitry Shamayev from Romania was second in the pursuit. So that's kind of cool. That's pretty awesome for him. And then also wanted to say that Latvia had a nice little European Championships.
Cool.
With Renars Birkentals, actually he ended up in 10th in the pursuit. So
he's
nice
been
to
on
see. Was that
World Cup, right? Birkentals.
Yeah. So nice to see, and hopefully they're getting prepped for World Championships. Probably not listening to this because she's got other things to be doing right now, including taking care of a precious little boy. But hoping to see Baiba back in full form for World Championships as well. I know that she and Rastroguyevs are very outside contenders for a medal, but how awesome would that be?
No kidding. And they've got good results, so
yeah. I think that would honestly, like, if I was to make a prediction, like, what are the things? We're sort of transitioning into some World Championship talk here, but things that would make me the happiest at right in the World Championships. I think that'd be near the top of the list if they got a medal.
Yeah,
that'd be just incredible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anything else from European Championships?
No, not that,
anything else in general? Because I've got some questions for you, some prediction questions for the World Championships.
Well, so one article I read, and it stood out mostly to me because I noticed that if you go back to Antholz, where Quentin Fillon left after the last shooting in second place, and then he got basically steamrolled by Dahle and Surum in the last ski section.
But it was just such an absurd. Dahle was just absolutely outrageous. Anyway, sorry.
But I remember specifically that, yes, he was flying up a hill to get closer to him, but then in the downhill, it seemed like QFM was just like a tourist and Dahle was racing. That's how much the difference was. And then I noticed that at the end of the race, Quentin Fillon-Maillet, he basically kicked his skis out as soon, like when he was still going. Mm-hmm. And then Emilien Jacquelin did the same thing. Yeah. And then I later read that their skis were just horrible. And I don't know. I think I've expressed before that although I have a lot of respect for QFM, it's not my favorite athlete. Yeah. And he seemed a little over the top when he won the Globe, but, kudos to him for doing that. Mm-hmm. So who am I to tell that he cannot celebrate it? But now that things are not going well, he was complaining a bit about how people are criticizing him, and if they think they can do better, they should get off their couch and start doing biathlon themselves. And that I was a little disappointed in that reaction, but maybe it was right after, he had a crappy day on the skis, and sure. I can totally see when you don't have a good season and you finally shoot really well and you're in second position and then you're basically skied off the podium. That you're frustrated.
At the wrong time. That. Yeah. But, an unfortunate response.
That's one thing.
He may like to have it back, but
yeah. That was one thing that stood out to me this week. But
he's a pretty fiery individual, and I think it cuts both ways at times, and it's been hard. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that I don't understand is that the French women don't seem to be as affected by the wax this year, right? And at times maybe a little bit, but
it's almost like the men and women are completely disconnected teams. Because their success rate is really good with both young athletes coming up and pretending that they've been on the World Cup for years, and then of course we have Supermom coming back, and Simon just still showing her brilliance, and on the men's side it just seems like nothing's working other than Guigonat obviously on the Open European Championships. Maybe they're just throwing all their baskets on the World Championships.
Maybe. That's a dangerous game to play. When you're at that level, it's one thing if like Canada or the United States, puts everything in on the World Championships and they figure, hey, this is when we're going to get the most publicity. But I would say for France, that's a dangerous game to play, especially with who knows how many more years QFM has at a top level. I don't know. Yeah. I don't understand why there's been such a disparate performance between the men and women this year. And I know that in the article you read, right, mentioning about, that the skis, I think, was it Simone Fourcade the coach said something about the wax not being good. And I just don't understand how the wax could be so good or that the French women are so impressive that they are outperforming the wax by that level.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they ski at different times, so I don't know how much that impacts. Yeah. Maybe they thought the women were so successful, let's stick with it. And then because of the, temperature change or whatever, that it's went the wrong way. I don't know. Coming back to our sponsor, who don't know that they're
Madshus,
our sponsor, Madshus.
Got to reach out to them.
So I did look it up. So they are from, and I'm definitely going to say this wrong, Vardal in Uppland.
Yep.
Headquarters in Biri-Gjøvik in Landet in Norway. How old do you think they are?
They are 84 years old.
118 years old.
Yeah, it was actually relatively close.
They were founded in 1906.
Okay.
And just to name a few people from biathlon from the past who skied on their skis, somebody called Ole Einar Bjørndalen.
You might be mispronouncing that, but yeah.
Emil Hegle Svensson, Sturla Holm, of course, Germans Kati Wilhelm. And then on the cross country, they have some Frode Estiel, Kristin Styrma Styra, who you may know because she is either married or in a long-time relationship with a American. No, is it American or Canadian athlete?
Who is it?
Oh, bad. Sorry, Canadian athlete, Devin Kershaw.
Oh,
I don't know if that rings a bell, but him and I feel bad now. They won a gold medal at the World Championships.
Wow.
Davin Kershaw with, I think he has a French-Canadian last name. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to find out very quickly. But anyway, there's some cool connections and some pretty well-known names both in the cross-country and biathlon there.
So if this ski ends up making this binding makes such a big difference, how long until Fischer has it, right? Because, or Johannes Tingnes Bo is like, I'm done. Like I'm leaving.
So from what I've seen in the past is that bindings, I don't know if you're aware, but so for example, in classic skiing, there is a couple of main binding types. And that's more to do with the plate under the boot. But so the boot and the binding go together. So there's like the NNN system. There's Salomon had its own system, and there's a couple of others. And it seems that it's not always the best brand or best system that comes out. It also had a lot to do with marketing, what superstars are on the certain bindings and that kind of thing. So the fact that, again, we may be completely off with this, but my guess is that maybe Madshus is coming out with this new binding and that their number of athletes has increased significantly. Maybe they're just really pushing this. And I would think if it's a really new technology that they would have patented it. And in the past, I think so most people are on triple N and NN type bindings, especially with newer skis and boots. And I think there was more like a mutual agreement of all the big brands to say, okay, let's all do this so we don't have this, I have Salomon boots, but I want Fischer skis, but then Fischer skis come with a different type of binding. So I think there's been a bit of a consensus to go with one type, but you'll still see plenty of different types. But so my guess is that this binding, well, it would require new boots if the connection is on a different position. So yeah, it's I'd really like to know more about it. Hopefully, at the World Championships, we'll see, and then we'll see if we see some really surprising results, especially when it comes to ski speed.
Yeah, right. So we cut it out, but there was about a 4-minute break there where Arj and I were furiously researching to find out was it actually Madshus, because we've mentioned them. So
it's just a 28 times. So I guess Madshus maybe doesn't have their own bindings, or maybe they do in another World Cup. So it's the combination of Madshus skis with Rotefella. I don't know what brand, what country that brand is from, but that's a binding company. And the combination of Madshus skis with Rotefella bindings is the only combo that can use this technique right now. And like I said earlier, Roman Ries and Benny Dole, for example, are skiing on that combo. Sturla Holmgren and a number of other Norwegians. So
if you're looking ahead towards making some predictions for the World Championships, is a good reason to look at those names.
There you go.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So I had a couple questions for you for the World Championships. Nothing too exciting, seriously. Just some questions. You're going to make some predictions here, and not too terribly interesting. But and the first one's not even a prediction. The first one is just a question I had for you, because I ran across it in my own research. Do you know what woman has the most podiums at Worlds in the last 5 years? And this is active. We're not taking it into anybody that's retired. Not.
I was just thinking, that's just a sneaky question because it's probably Roysland or.
Yeah, I cut them all out.
My first reaction or first thought was Hannah Oberg.
You are absolutely correct. And I raise this point because we have talked about her a number of times this year as being disappointing. And what if she comes out and wins another couple medals, right? And we're just like, well, I guess this is who she's going to be, right? She's going to have this tantalizing talent who just collects medals.
Yeah, maybe that's the pressure she needs. And like I mentioned it just earlier with the French, where I said maybe they're focusing on the World Championships, but at the same time, I can't. Like, it's one thing if the World Championships would be in France, that as the French team, you say, okay, let's guide our season towards peaking at the World Championships at home. But I can't really imagine that a French team would be, let's focus on the Nove Mesto World Championships to peak.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But who knows? But
see, if I ask you who the man is with the most medals, that's just not even a fair question.
Boo.
Oh, yeah. It's not even close. Do you know who's second?
Maybe make it more complicated by saying what family.
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you know who's in second for the men?
Both. Sorry, is it just individual ones or team ones?
Just
as well.
No, it's all. Yeah.
Last 5 years, I don't know, maybe Taribo or Sturlaholm.
It's Sturlaholm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the women, do you know who's in second?
Second.
She hasn't won a whole lot recently. Put it that way.
Veer?
Yeah. Yep. And then third is actually tangible, but I think a lot of those are on the backs of relay medals. So.
Right.
Yep. Also, not surprising, in the number one medal winner in the last 5 years in Nove Mesto is also Johannes Tingnes, by a wide margin. But the interesting thing I saw was that
just what we needed.
Yeah,
his favorite stadium. But hey, he's on old bindings, so
it's an old binding. Maybe it levels the playing field. So for the women in Nove Mesto, no active woman has more than 2 podiums in Nove Mesto in the last 5 years. No active woman has won in Nove Mesto in the last 5 years.
So more than one?
Nobody has won a single race. Yeah. So, like, Tangervold has 2 second-place finishes, and Veer has a second place and a third place, and Hannah has a second place and a third place. In Nove Mesto, yeah.
There's no active athlete right now?
No, for the women,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no active woman has won in Nove Mesto.
Or did they go last year?
They didn't go last year, yeah.
Really?
So then, it's you go back and it's like Roysland and
who are the last winners?
I can go back and pull it up. I've got it open.
Makes a lot of sense.
So last woman who won in Nove Mesto. Denise Hermanwick. And
so Hannah has never won there, even though.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. So time for somebody new to show up.
I'm going for Marketa Davidova.
So that was actually my next question. Will a Czech athlete win a medal at this World Championships?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, you think so? I really hope Davidova does,
I hope so.
Right? Yeah.
Davidova.
She could just...
Yeslova.
Yeah. What if like in the individual they went like gold and third?
Is it Petr Mrazek? Is that the Czech guy, or is that
Kirchmarch?
Who's usually pretty? Is that his? Okay.
Yeah.
Where is Mrazek from?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay. Anyway, because they can be a pretty good single mixed, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kirchmarch and
Davidova.
Davidova,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely could. Do you think that more or less than 5 nations win medals? Last year, 6 won, by the way.
Men and women combined?
Yeah.
I would say more.
Yeah.
Again,
I think so too.
Maybe more of a hope answer, but if
Well,
you just think
yeah.
Norway, Germany, France, Italy, Sweden.
I would be stunned if Sweden didn't win a relay medal at the least, like a women's relay medal. Maybe stunned is too strong a word, but Switzerland.
Oh, and then Latvia and Switzerland and Czech Republic. So easy, easy.
Yeah. And then Jaka Falk is.
And don't ask me how many medals are gonna be won by Norwegians. I refuse to answer
it's
that.
too. You can't count that high. Do United States
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh no!
I can't count it
because they're going to win so many. It's just going to be.
No, I get it.
The United that was not an insult to you. I think you can count very high, but the United States or Canada will they have a single top 10 finish?
Like at least one.
At least one, yeah. Between
or
the two,
like a non-team.
I'll take a relay top 10.
Yeah,
Hope so.
Emma Lunder.
I think Emma Lunder will.
She's ready.
I think that DJ Irwin is going to come through again. Fingers crossed.
Sprint for the finish.
Oh, Campbell Wright.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking of him when I. Campbell Wright, DJ Irwin, single mixed relay. Let's do it. And then this is my last question. Do you think that we see any surprise medals? Anybody that comes from like nowhere? No, I shouldn't say nowhere, but like not really on our radar. I'm thinking somebody like
would Latvia in the single mixed relay
overall, or like Yulia Zima comes out and wins a medal. I don't know. Do you think anybody like that that pulls it off?
I mean, there's a lot of races, right?
Or is this going to be a year where Norway
Even,
just sweeps up everything and, you know?
No, but would fall, if, let's say, Kierkegaard would win a race, would that fall under your category?
Oh, yeah. That would surprise me.
So, yeah, I would say yes then.
Great.
Not for her specifically, but...
So we're being optimistic this year. That's how we're going into it. We're being optimistic. Lots of nations are going to win medals, and we're going to see some surprises. United States and Canada. We're going to do some good things.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Anything else?
I think we've done a pretty good job.
We made a quick reference earlier.
Yeah.
So Jordan and I have been traveling around the world in this World Cup level pause in the season, and just to get a sense of how people feel and what they know about biathlon. So hopefully later this week we'll have a quick episode with those recordings.
Yeah, I have to say it was pretty illuminating. I think that sometimes we get stuck in our little bubble, but getting to chat with some people who had some pretty interesting ideas about biathlon was fun, right?
Yeah,
I think, yeah, it's nice to mix and mingle and chat it up.
Definitely,
it was a lot of fun, actually,
and
I will say that I laughed harder listening back to our recordings than I have at pretty much anything else. So hopefully, you guys have a similar response to it.
Yeah,
it was just a lot of fun. So, yeah, thank you to everybody who participated.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to say to one of our biggest listeners, Ola and Björndalen, happy 50th coming up.
You guys actually don't know this, but he actually sends us an email after every podcast that tells us what we got wrong.
He's the one who connected us with Madshus, right? For sponsor.
Yeah, we take it as helpful, constructive criticism, and can use it to better ourselves.
Yeah. So this episode was not sponsored by Madshus.
It really should have been.
But we really thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Really appreciate it. And have a great week. I think we have another week off, and then the next Wednesday. Is that right? So a week and a half?
Next Wednesday, February 7th. Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to be crawling through the desert of the biathlon season. But it's coming, guys. It's out there.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. The glistening jewel of Nova Mesto. That's it. Yep. We've reached the silly point.
Yeah. Okay, man. Thanks. And have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.